Hi everybody, this video is examining 5G and also issuing an alert to the British public. There are many countries, including China, I forget exactly how many countries, but 5G is banned in those countries. Those countries are not using 5G because of the risks. And one thing people need to understand is that, like nuclear power, 5G is not insured. It is uninsurable. So it's the public who are expected to pay the costs and the price on every level of any damages that we sustain from 5G. And I ask people who are of the age to remember that, for example, asbestos. For a very long time, people were complaining that asbestos was causing health problems, and there were concerns about the risks, and nobody took any notice of it until finally court cases and what have you, medical evidence proved concerns about asbestos, and then it was only blue asbestos that was deemed dangerous, and schools and homes continued to use asbestos quite liberally until finally it was accepted that all asbestos is a danger to human health. Now, with this 5G stuff, how long is it going? You know, it's going to be too late by the time people are suffering the damages of it. And already people's internet, people will be directly dependent on it for their internet, so it won't be easy to remove it once it's established. So we need to move now in order to prevent its liberal establishment throughout Britain, which is what they want to do. You know, literally every square mile of Britain full of these 5G transmitters, which they're going to be placing on top of LED street lights and what have you. But they will be within rural areas. I mean, like I say, throughout Britain, we're talking about a grid here. Now, a lot of people are aware that, yes, there's lots of studies citing evidence expressing concerns about how this impacts our health and the health of animals, and especially children and even the unborn. But even if people are prepared to dismiss that because, you know, the BBC isn't accepting it, and the councils and various other corporate interests that are set to profit from this 5G, even if people aren't prepared to take into account the scientific studies, the results of the scientific studies to date, then surely people are concerned about the risks against our rights to privacy. I mean, we are talking about them being able to literally watch you in your home, watch people in the local community, because this electronic data can give them observational powers, so they can literally watch you walking down the street. Okay, but it gives them access right into our homes, so that at any given time it is known what appliances you're using, where you are in your home, what the contents of your fridge are, what the contents of your cupboards are, what's in your bin. This is a very serious level of an invasion of privacy. It is literally 1984. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share some evidence, various pieces of evidence, in order to inform people. And I'm not going to read through every single document. I'm just going to show you the documents. I'm going to leave you the links to everything that is shared here so that you can examine it for yourself. And what we need is for everybody now to get involved in this. Everybody needs to pull their own weight in order to protect the next generation and ourselves and our wildlife. And that includes our inner city trees. So talk to your neighbour about it, talk to your family about it, talk to your partner about it, get in touch with your MP. I will leave the link right to them. It's very simple. You click on the link, put in your postcode, and you will have direct access to your MP, councillors and various lords that you can write to and express your concerns. And we all need to do it. We all need to do something. Sign this petition, this international appeal that's been established, because this is a global thing. We're talking about a global power with global corporations able at any given time to be able to literally spy on anyone and everyone, even in your own home. So this is serious. This is serious. And how does a predator operate when it wants to catch its prey? It operates by stealth and camouflage. And at the moment, the 5G rollout is happening by stealth. It's just being established in our communities, in our towns and cities across Britain, without any consultation with the public. The public aren't even aware most of the time. And this is an invasion. This is an invasion by global corporations, global corporate powers into our nation, you see. And, you know, all the people who voted Brexit for sovereignty, this totally ignores our rights to sovereignty, our rights, it ignores our democratic rights. It is overriding everything, and there have been no proper studies into this. So it's up to you. So this is the international appeal, which has been put together by doctors and scientists. And it's, you know, read through it. It's very, very serious. The levels of concerns and the studies done to date, even with 3 and 4G. So this is one very important link to read. And, you know, then we have this. Radiation from cell phones, Wi-Fi is hurting the birds and the bees. 5G may make it worse. You know, birds and bees are already suffering. Insects, we're suffering a catastrophic loss of insects, and that will affect the birds. You see, we're suffering a catastrophic loss of insects. 75% of insects have disappeared, apparently. And then we have this one. The rollout of 5G wireless service is a massive health experiment, public health expert warns, as cell companies install 800,000 towers across the UK. Why public health experts are worried about 5G, the next generation of cell network. And, you know, cyber security. It is a very, very serious issue. And then there's the environmental concerns, the Internet of Things, scientific overview of human health risks. 240 doctors, scientists and doctors from 41 nations who have published research in the field have appealed to the United Nations calling for urgent action to reduce these ever-growing wireless exposures, and they wrote the FACC for a moratorium on the rollout of 5G, citing the serious risk to human health and the environment. So, you know, these are just a few of the things. Now, I've expressed some concern, as have many people who had joined STAG, which is the Sheffield Tree Action Group. I care for a person that lives in Sheffield. I have been active in my life trying to protect trees. You know, I camped out regularly at Newbury Forest in Britain, where, you know, to try and prevent this bypass from being laid out, which destroyed, you know, went right through ancient woodland, and we were unsuccessful in preventing that, and STAG has been largely unsuccessful in preventing the loss of Sheffield trees. And we're talking 18,000 trees. This private global corporation that has been hired by Sheffield's council to manage Sheffield's trees, and Sheffield has noticed it more. I mean, this has been happening throughout Britain. It isn't just Sheffield, but Sheffield was known as the city of trees. It's a very green city, and each tree is providing oxygen for 4 people, enough oxygen for 4 people a day, okay? And each tree is absorbing major amounts of CO2. So collectively these trees are absorbing, you know, tons of CO2 every year. So they're providing a service to our city and the people of our city, and also they're providing a home and food to various insects and birds, to other wildlife. So but, you know, ultimately they want about 70%. And people have been very disturbed. They've been trying to protect the trees, like I say, without any success. People have been imprisoned. Even a Greenpeace councillor, not a Greenpeace, sorry, a Green Party councillor has been jailed for her protests. And, you know, it's been absolutely terrible. These trees have just been chopped down, and many of them, in fact the vast majority of them, healthy trees, absolutely nothing wrong with them. Even a BBC expert came and examined these trees that were marked to be chopped down, and found that there was absolutely nothing wrong with them whatsoever. There was no need for these trees to go. And in a lot of cases, after they've removed the large tree, they're planting saplings, you know, where a sapling cannot provide any levels of oxygen and CO2 absorption and refuge to wildlife, you know, sustenance for wildlife, as the mature adult trees could. So people who had become involved in STAG, and I must say this isn't a criticism against all STAG members or even all STAG administrators, but I think STAG members themselves need to have a look at who is involved in their group now and root out infiltrators, because myself and many other people strongly suspect that STAG has been infiltrated and to some degree controlled by opposition, basically. So, you know, maybe somebody from Amey itself has infiltrated STAG, because STAG also has a Facebook group, and many of us started doing research, you see, because we were very suspicious about this sudden decision to remove Sheffield trees, especially during this present era where everybody's concerned about climate change and levels of CO2. It seemed very strange that Sheffield City Council suddenly is quite happy to chop down half our trees, in fact 70% of our trees, and that actually they're paying this private corporation who's making a profit from this. And don't forget that, you know, they've been selling all the wood and what have you as well. So we were concerned, you know, maybe some of the councillors have shares in Amey, this global corporation. Whether they do or not, we're never going to know, because there's secrecy around people's personal finances and things like that. You know, they've literally sealed information from the British public. But the more research I did, and others, we discovered that yes, 5G trees block the signals, and especially the mature trees with the broad leafy branches block the signals, and so that means the trees had to go. That is what this is about, and this is what I mean. They move by stealth, coming telling us that, oh yes, you know, these trees are diseased, and you know that 70% of them need to go, and but really they've got a hidden agenda. They've got a hidden agenda, and we have a right to take into account all the information at our disposal. Okay, so then there's also the information, isn't there, of Agenda 21, and I'll leave you the link. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This isn't a conspiracy theory. Depopulation is a big part of this. So, and according to the Georgia Guidestones, again, a group of people, anonymous people, calling themselves RC Christian, which anybody who's aware understands is the Rosicrucians. Okay, they want to maintain humanity under 500 million. Under 500 million. Well, there's around 7 billion people on Earth right now. So that means they want to reduce the population, massively reduce the global population. For sustainable living. But what they mean by sustainable living is sustainable in the sense that everybody who's in power and control right now can actually remain in power and control, and nothing's going to change, because there's nothing wrong with them. It's all us. Whereas we are actually slaves to the systems that they have established, and then they blame humanity for the crimes committed by these corporations. So, for example, if you look what's happened at Fukushima, which is badly polluted, as Japan has put Japanese people's health at risk, destroyed thousands of acres of farmland, and then is, as I speak, destroying the Pacific Ocean, poisoning the life of the Pacific Ocean. That's one global corporation, TEPCO. That's one corporation has done that. That isn't humanity. We can't blame humanity, because we were not consulted. People didn't want these nuclear power stations, but we were forced to have them. So is that humanity, or is that a global corporation? You see, what right have they got to decide how many people live on Earth? What right have they got to decide that? What right have they got to say who should live and who should die? Or even judge anybody as a useless eater? So this is, it is something that we need to take into account, because like I say, the predator approaches its prey with stealth and camouflage. And I feel that is what is happening with 5G, because these antenna, these 5Gs, they can be weaponised for crowd dispersal, for, like I say, gathering intelligence, and people being bombarded, because we're talking about an electromagnetic smog that we will be living in. Although perhaps one 5G antenna might not cause that much harm. But when you've got thousands of them, and you're passing through those EMF waves every single day, and you've got all the smart meters and all the other equipment, people's phones, and they're all communicating with each other. You're talking about a very severe levels of electromagnetic smog that is going to kill our insects, it's going to kill birds, it's going to kill us as well. And is that what this is about? And as I say, by the time it is upon us, because that's why the predator uses stealth and camouflage in order to be able to pounce on its prey, by which time the prey just is immobilised, powerless. And we have very good reason to be aware that, look, these people that are giving themselves such powers over us they're not intelligent people. And a species, you know, that is essentially an intellectual species, a species that is not being governed or living according to intelligence and an intelligent law, then obviously what hope is there for us? Stupidity is going to lead to harm. So, you know, the reason why we believe that STAG has been infiltrated is because those of us who were sharing all such information about 5G and explaining that this is what's going on, this is why the trees are being felled, we were called mad conspiracy theorists and told to, you know, get our tinfoil hats on and giving lectures about how important 5G is and how it's going to improve the internet. And many of us who persisted in talking about 5G were kicked out of STAG, the Facebook STAG group. And some people did set up Sheffield 5G action group instead, the people that had been kicked out. But I found that really disturbing. It was a disturbing experience that, and as I say, I know the vast majority of people involved in STAG are genuinely concerned citizens, and I am genuinely concerned that these people, that certain members of STAG, so, you know, infiltrators into STAG, are using that group to misinform people and confuse people and distract and actually ridicule people that are, you know, sharing the greater concern behind the loss of the trees. That, yeah, we're crazy. But, you know, Agenda 21, it is not a conspiracy theory, it's a conspiracy fact. The Georgia Guidestones is not a conspiracy theory, it's a conspiracy fact. Okay? And we need to start just working with the facts. We need to work with the facts. So, you know, Amey has already been in trouble for misleading the public over tree felling. This was one person had managed to stop. Well, I think that's it. One person managed to save a tree that Amey had said was damaged and needed to be chopped, and it was found out that there was nothing wrong with this tree. This ancient tree, you know, it'd been there for nearly a century, you know. There was absolutely nothing wrong with it, and they were going to chop it down. So that was just one tree. But we know that there's hundreds, if not thousands of trees that were perfectly, there's nothing wrong with them, but they have been felled. And we know that it's for 5G. So looking at Amey, who is Amey? Who is Amey? What is Amey? Well, Amey is, as it says here, they work across 4 continents, making us a leading supplier of consulting and infrastructure support services both in the UK and internationally. See, they're a global corporation. We are proud of our long history. We create safer, smarter and sustainable places to live, work and travel. Sustainable for who? Sustainable for corporations or sustainable for people and the creatures, the wildlife. By designing, building, maintaining and investing in our country's services and infrastructure, we make a difference, including engineering, facilities management, utilities, transport, environmental services, defence and justice. Defence. So look at that. Defence, transport, and also they are involved in telecommunications. Okay? They are involved in telecommunications, which would come under utilities. Defence and justice. Transport, defence and justice. Keep those in your mind. Who are they affiliated with? This is the parent company, Amey, our parent company. We are part of the Ferrovial family, you see. Now, these corporate people and the corporate family are deemed more important than the families of British society. This is our country. Who is this global corporation? Who is this Ferrovial family? So the Ferrovial family, one of the world's leading infrastructure operators and municipal services companies. We are part of its Ferrovial Services business online. And here we go again, back to your solutions for cities and infrastructure with a solid international presence in stable regions such as UK, Spain, Australia, New Zealand. Well, you know what's stable regions where the public are bound and gagged and have absolutely no rights, or are too stupid to question the actions of this family in their country. So this is it. We offer a broad range of services for important public and private clients and operate in a variety of sectors: transport, justice, health, telecommunications, resources, industry, mining and utilities. Well, we know for a fact that they're involved in developing these self-driving cars. Okay. Which really, they want self-driving lorries, don't they? That's going to be it, you know, make all the lorry drivers totally redundant, because 5G is going to, basically, they're going to be able to have self-driving lorries. There's not many of us going to be using these self-driving cars. Telecommunications, that's your 5G posts. So we've got a company that is involved in this family, in the Ferrovial family, that is about to profit from making and establishing this 5G network and all the things that are connected with it, like self-driving cars and lorries and buses and you name it. How many people are going to be unemployed? Well, it's okay, because, you know, they're not going to be around for very long, are they? If we, you know, probably all going to be dying of cancer and autoimmune and various other illnesses caused by the 5G. It's operating by stealth. And I don't think it's over the top to be suspicious, to be very, very suspicious about 5G in face of that, and in face of the evidence. In face of the evidence. In fact, I would say it is treasonous. It is treasonous that our councils are employing global corporations to provide British public services. That, you know, why can't British people be responsible for emptying our own bins? Why can't British companies make their profits or whatever from dealing with our waste and pay their taxes? Because these corporations aren't paying any taxes and they employ as few people as they can. It's all about profits. Profit, profit, profit in every way, and also satisfying their agendas, their collective global agendas. You know, it's people, members of such people as the Ferrovial family, who who get invited to things like the Bilderberg meetings. Okay, so anyway, to end, I'm going to share a couple of videos. Well, I'm just going to show you this video, which is, I'm not actually going to play it, but this is from Swilliamson, who, I don't seem to be able to get a picture of his face there, here he is. This is from Swilliamson, who says what you don't know about 5G, and he's talking about the spying impacts of it, you know, the invasion of privacy. So I'll leave you this video, which is a very good video, and I highly recommend Swilliamson. He shares some very important, enlightening information with people. But to end, I'm going to play you a few minutes of this video, which is Barry Trower and Mark Steele, who both have military experience, understand exactly what they're talking about. Barry Trower has been talking about the dangers of electromagnetic frequencies and the risks associated for years, and he knows that these things are a weapon. And the same for Mark Steele, who himself was employed in the military working on super weapons. He understands exactly what he's talking about, and he discovered to his alarm that Gateshead, 5G has been rolled out in Gateshead as a social experiment, and you know, none of the people informed. And I will be leaving you the link to Mark Steele's appeal, because he's engaged in legal actions over this 5G stuff at the moment, and really needs people's support. So please do donate whatever you can to Mark Steele's legal fund, because the Gateshead Council have been trying to shut him up, and there's all kinds of shenanigans going on, and this legal battle that he has commenced is very, very important and could set a precedent for us all. So, you know, we all need, like I say, everybody needs to pull their own weight, and listen very carefully to what Barry Trower has to say here. I have utmost respect for both these guys, and I sincerely thank both of them for all their efforts on behalf of humanity and the life of our planet and our rights. So thank you very much for taking time to listen, and please do share this video, check the information out, get informed and get active.
Subdue them, program, Barry.
You could do anything with Pandora, anything at all. In 1963, this is interesting, and it's just for the conspiracy theorists, but I think there's something in this. In 1963, President Kennedy gave a talk to, I think it's Columbia University, and he specifically, his talk was on microwaves causing harm and preventing what we have now, the systems. And he said, I am going to stop this. I'm not going to have microwave weapons. I'm not going to have microwaves in the population. The following week, he was shot. Is that a coincidence?
Absolutely.
The World Health Organization experts.
I put that loosely, Barry, by the way. Loosely.
Yeah, a World Health Organization advisor actually came out and said, stop 5G. I've got some names at the end. A World Health Organization advisor said, stop 5G. Then it was known to kill birds, cattle, tadpoles, insects. 350 environmental organizations from 96 countries have said stop 5G. The Californian firefighters, I've had a lot to do with, Californian firefighters have an exemption from 5G. It's the legal bill 649, and the firefighters are exempt 5G because of its complicated dangers to their health. UK, I've got the 5G frequencies 28, 38, 60, 72, 73 gigahertz running either edge of those. Transmitters about every 150 meters, give or take. There's a new weapon just been brought out called active denial. Its nickname is the Growler. I know it is just above the 5G range, but it is in the 5G. It's above what they are putting out from the lampposts, but it is still in the 5G range. It's 95 gigahertz. And I do know from military people that it was tested on special forces and it just brought them straight to their knees. So at this point, 5G has been used as a weapon for crowd control by governments, and still is. A professor of medicine has said that nature has no defense against 5G, or in fact the other Gs, but they're all going to be mixed together anyway. Emeritus Professor Martin Paul, you would have heard of him.
Yeah, I know Martin,
I gave a talk with him in the States. I shared a platform with him. Threefold damage to the sperm and the egg, phased array, constructive interference, and he confirms that insects that have a high surface area to volume ratio would be specifically damaged by this. A lot of people are coming up with that. For humans, and I agree with this from my own physiological training, it's going to affect the eyes of humans quite a lot. And I agree with him when he says it will cause cataracts, retina problems, glaucoma, macular degeneration, and kidney problems. A professor from Sussex University has said putting 5G on all the lampposts, which is what they're doing,
yeah.
Will cause basically an insect Armageddon because insects hover around lampposts, and with their surface area to volume ratio, they will not survive it. There are already papers showing this. 5G has to be compliant because it has to be linked, as it is in other countries. It has to be linked to all radar systems, Wi-Fi, smart meters, hospital equipment. It's going to be in the Internet of Things, so they all have to be compatible with each other. So you're not just getting 5G, you're getting all of the other Gs and Wi-Fi all thrown into one. Interestingly, from what I can gather, the calculations for 5G are time averaged, and the data is around 100 times greater than 4G that's being sent. But interestingly, from what I can gather, it certainly is in other countries, what they're saying for safety level is actually time averaged. Now, to explain that, forgive me, to explain that, if I fired a gun by your ear, the crack of the cordite explosion, the crack would be, let's say, a 50th of a second and would be dangerous. If I time average it over a second, then I divide that by 50 and the number comes down, and I'll say, well, look, it isn't dangerous because I've averaged it over a second, and in fact now it's below the safety level. So it's just, in fact, I think there are 13 that I came across mathematical ways to show it is safe. This is just one of them. So they are time averaged. Now, the rollout has already started in Vienna. And as it started, I don't know if you know this, but it started in Vienna for 5G. The unsuspecting people immediately had or suffered from nosebleeds, cardiac problems, heart problems, chest pains, fatigue, dizziness, vomiting. In fact, all of the symptoms of microwave sickness that I've known from since 1932 that's been published. Now, the interesting one, I don't know if you know this, Mark, and you're taking this with you anyway.
Yeah.
The USSR actually experimented on humans and animals with 5G. They actually carried out experiments in 1977 with 5G. And we go back to 72 as well, and 97. Now we've got 77. This was a proper military experiment. The humans suffered metabolic problems, in other words, just everything started to fall apart. Blood problems, the immune systems started to dysfunction, and you had severe medical and neurological problems with humans. The animals, they noticed, because you can't dissect humans, but they can with the animals. Well, they may dissect humans, I don't know. But the animals, they found the bone marrow was suffering, which of course produces the immune system. Respiration was damaged. The enzyme activity was damaged. The nuclear DNA was damaged. But the total exposure time was only 15 hours over 60 days. So you're only talking about roughly 15 minutes a day. And the levels were not high. Not as high as you're going to get in a classroom or with all the other stuff. And that's only over 60 days. So it has been used as a weapon. It has been tested experimentally on animals and humans. So all of the people are right when they're saying it's going to make you ill. And I've said this, but 5G has to have megahertz frequencies to comply with other transmitters and receivers. Also, it has to have, in other countries, I haven't seen it for this, but I know it has to have it, the low gigahertz frequencies. I do know that in some countries, when I've looked at the lists, you have as many as 22 different frequencies when it's fully functional, because it has to comply with all of the other things. And it will be added to Wi-Fi 2, 3, 4G smart meters. So it's going to be the Internet of Things. And I thought I'd just go on to its compliance with smart meters, which is actually quite frightening. Because I just made a few notes, again from documents I have. Each smart meter has to have two transmitters. One low frequency to go into the house to talk to the refrigerator and the telly and all the other things, and one to reach the main transmitter. So each smart meter has two transmitters. In fact, I had a lady ring me just 2 days ago, whose daughters are terribly sick now, and in her house, which is just 3 flats, they have 3 smart meters in the one house. So each house may have up to around 15 appliances. Each group of houses, a small group, it goes from 500 to 5,000 houses in a mesh. Now, when you start looking at the maths at this, like a little group of tower blocks on a big estate. You can have as many as 5,000 smart meters, no problem, with as many as 3 if you've got people sharing a house. 5,000 smart meters, 2 smart meters, or 2 transmitters for each smart meter. So you've got 1,000 smart meters, sorry, 10,000 smart meters, 5,000 houses, 10,000 smart meters in a small area transmitting, or 10,000 transmitters. Each of them 15 transmitters per house. So when you do the maths here, in one reasonably sized council estate, you can have up to 150,000 transmitters.
Scary.
150,000, and they are producing mostly the 5G waveforms and Wi-Fi, 2.4 gigahertz, which is a known weapons frequency. And just to round it off, I wrote here that it's known in the military and published, but Stanford Research Institute, California, did their own experiments and said the 2 most dangerous frequencies for living structures, living cellular structures, which is all of nature basically, trees, animals, insects, us, is the Wi-Fi frequency, 2.4 gigahertz, and 0.95 gigahertz, the 2 most lethal frequencies. And finally, Dr. Annie Sasko here, 22 years in the World Health Organization Cancer Department, has basically said that all of this will cause cancer.
Absolutely.
No question. So those were just the notes I made, which can be referenced, and you're welcome to use any of them.
Thanks, Barry.
So there you go. Absolutely excellent video here by Barry Trower and Mark Steele, and I will leave you the link to it, and I do advise you to watch it. And like I say, please inform everybody you know. Please get active on this. This is very serious. We need to stop it before it starts, because as I say, once they've established it in our cities, that's it. You'll be dependent on it for your internet, and that's why we need to act. So please do not hesitate in contacting your MP and any authority that you think is relevant. Campaign, raise the awareness, spread the alert. Basically, this is an alert. This is a public health and safety risk that is being imposed upon every population in every nation without our consent and with no trials. And all the evidence to date does very strongly support the suspicions about risks to our health and safety and the health and safety of our wildlife. So God bless and love to everybody.